Well, we're looking at, I think, a total of 3 more, counting this one, 3 more books. And Tim will probably go, thank God, thank God. The basic, what it's supposed to get us through is the discovery of the wormhole junction.
Okay.
And the realization that Manticore is about to become one of the premier economic mercantile powers in the human explored portion of the galaxy. But it also, it's establishing, and especially in the book we're working on right now, you're really getting a look inside the Undermani, who are they kind of get lost a little bit in the Honorverse because they never join the Grand Alliance. Okay. So I'm gonna have to deal with the Undermani of Honor's time at some point, because people want to know what they're doing, kind of thing. But this kind of paints a lot of the background. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I may have mentioned this in one of the earlier videos. Avars Tarakov's wife, Shened, is directly descended from Chomps and Travis, both. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're, the family, not Trump. And the family yacht is called, in German, the Kaiser's Gift. And it's been in the family for a long time. So that may tell you a little bit about where this is headed. Travis is one of the more interesting characters in the Honorverse in a lot of ways, both as the character himself, but also in where he falls in the development of the Honorverse. Uh-huh. There actually is, you haven't seen it, but there's a major facility at Saganami Island, which is named, for him. But what happens is, if Edward Saganami hadn't come along, Travis would have been the Edward Saganami of the Royal Manticoran Navy. He actually is sort of one of Edward Saganami's mentors. But the timing is such that he still... I use the example a lot, even though it's not really totally apropos, of Truxton in the U.S. Navy. Very few people... Truxton, who? He won 2 single-ship engagements for the U.S. Navy during the quasi-war with France. He had to give the ship back. And he was huge in establishing the professional basis of the U.S. Navy. Now, unlike Travis, he was also very prickly, he was a proud man, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there were a lot of factors involved that led Edward Preble in fighting the Tripoli and, the pirates of Tripoli, to become kind of the founding father of the U.S. Navy. Not John Paul Jones. He's one of the icons of the Navy, but he's not really one of the founders of the modern Navy. That really was Preble's boys that then went on to fight the War of 1812. That's the real basis for the history of the U.S. Navy, more than the Bonhomme Richard and whatnot, which was part of the Continental Revolutionary Navy. But the building of the organizational basis, the bureaucracy that has to be there to support the warfighting elements and so forth, that really comes more War of 1812 and post than a direct progression from Jones, if you see what I'm saying. So Travis is kind of Preble, And Saganami is kind of Stephen Decatur or Isaac Hull, both of whom were, won brilliant single ship actions during the War of 1812, but who got their training and their basis from Travis. The big difference is that the Royal Manticore Navy has been there for a couple of generations by the time Travis comes along. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that it has been basically a coastal fleet. The truth is that the people who are arguing that Manticore doesn't need a navy are completely correct until the wormhole turns up. Okay, they need a Coast Guard. They don't need a navy. Okay. If you look, maybe the difference is this: if you look at the British Royal Navy of today and the British Royal Navy of 1914, the Royal Navy of today is enormously smaller, because it's not maintaining a battle fleet. It's worried about commerce protection. It's worried about, anti-submarine, kind of thing. Nobody has a battle fleet that's going to steam out to settle things, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We've moved kind of away from the whole concept of the climactic decisive battle into the understanding that the proper application of sea power has always been more around the periphery than where the main fleets actually clash, kind of thing. All right, well, so the Royal Manticore Navy of Travis's day isn't quite descended from the 1940 British Navy. It's more descended from the 1900 German Navy in terms of we have a fleet, kind of thing. That's probably not the best analogy. Maybe the 1900 U.S. Navy. Okay. But anyway, it's bigger than they needed, mm-hmm. and the ships are obsolete. Okay. And so people are saying, why do we have these, pre-dreadnought class battleships in 1940? Kind of thing. They're not real useful, It's not quite that bad, but it's pretty bad. So Travis is part of what actually resurrects the Navy and begins preparing it so that when it does finally hit the wormhole, it's not because they saw the wormhole coming. It's because, somebody's a threat to the star system and we got to deal with it. Mm-hmm. We don't know why they're a threat. And eventually they find out what the threat is all about. But it's kind of a matter of Travis is one of the people who is responsible for establishing a modern Manticore Navy, one that is looking at doctrine in a modern fashion, one that is thinking outside the box of obsolete ships that don't really have anything to do but occasionally carry out training exercises, kind of thing. I think there's actually a reference in there to the fact that Travis, I think, is aboard the first Manticore ship to actually leave the Manticore system, like 50 years, something like that. And so Saganami comes along on the upswing. Travis was responsible for starting the pendulum, making the upswing.
Okay.
And he also, because so much of what he does has intelligence implications as opposed to, oh, look, he fought a battle kind of thing. A lot of what he does, a lot of his contributions are in the shadows because of that. Okay. And so, again, Saganami is the... in some ways, I don't like to use this parallel, but Saganami is kind of the Achilles of the Royal Manticore name. Achilles was an arrogant prick, you understand. Saganami wasn't. But what I'm saying is he is the kind of the meteor strike out there. Maybe more Horatio on the bridge than Achilles. Okay. He's the guy who stands and fights and dies where he stands to do his duty. But Travis is the guy who helped establish what that duty was. Okay, but Saganami is he is the avatar of that for the Royal Manticore Navy. It's why the traditional toast is, the tradition lives, the tradition of Saganami lives. And the Royal Manticore Navy deliberately internalized that as its touchstone for what it's about. And it's kind of strayed from it a time or two, but it's always kind of been able to come back to it. And so doing these books gives us an opportunity to look at who Saganami learned from. Because we've had plenty of examples of people who have learned from Saganami.